Hi, my name is Catherine and I'm going to do a Photoshop lesson on how to change eye color. This is probably one of the most popular lessons in my class for digital photography. The assignment I assign would be a drastic makeover, whether if it's a lookalike or just drastic change in general. Perhaps eye color change is the most common question I get in class on how it's done. I've seen a lot of tutorials, a lot of lessons on how to change eye color. There's lots out there. Of all the ones I've tried, I think this one here is my ultimate favorite. It's really good for students who've never used Photoshop for the first time. And so here we go. What I have here is a photograph taken by one of my former students, Ted. He was actually one of my star students. He's doing very well now. He's working for Judy Inc., a top fashion photography studio in downtown Toronto. And this was a headshot he had taken for an aspiring model. And according to him, this came straight from his camera. So really, I don't know if I can show you a patch tool or anything else, or a healing brush. We're just going to do a straight eye color change. As you can see, your eyes are hazel brown. So I'm going to use the navigator so I can just zoom in. If you have much darker eyes, I do tell my students that it's always best to use this technique, because the rule of thumb is if you have much darker eyes, it is more difficult to achieve lighter eye color. However, the opposite applies. For lighter colored eyes, you can always change it to darker color. But in my case, a lot of my students, the majority of them do have a lot of dark colored eyes, so this technique would certainly apply. So what you're going to do is, once you get the file, you are going to make sure it's a Photoshop PSD file. And if it's an image taken from the camera, obviously it's going to be a JPEG, so they have to go to File, Save As, and make sure that the file is a Photoshop file by default. Here in the Layers property, it is the original image. It has a little lock. We want to make a duplicate copy. So I can do that by clicking and dragging it over the second last icon beside the trash can. That is the duplicate feature. Or I can just simply right-click, duplicate layer. Then we're going to go to the internet. And if I can find, there we are. So between blue eyes, green eyes, I think I want to choose a green eye. So when green eyes, type in green eyes search is done. You want to go to image, and you have a whole assortment of different eyes and also file size. I tell my students that you have to be careful the image quality they select, because obviously the quality of this headshot is perhaps a high res, and you want to make sure you get as close to the resolution of the original photograph. So the one I chose, so you save the image, the eye, so I want to go to open, and here's the green eye that I chose. Drag this tab down so that I can see both files. So again, because this eye was taken from the internet, I want to go to File, Save As, and in order for both files to be in Photoshop format, I have to also change the green eye files to a PSD, and I'll press Save. And again, a good Photoshop habit is to always duplicate your original. In case anything goes wrong, you always can go back to the original. And here, I'm going to right click where there you have the marquee tools. I'm going to choose the elliptical marquee tool. And you don't have to be precise. You just want to ballpark around the eye. So there we go. And the reason why I just do a rough ballpark, marquee, is because when I drag it over to the headshot, I can still make my final edits. So as it's blinking, I only want this area. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to select inverse. So what you're doing in Photoshop is you're telling Photoshop that all of this around the eye will be deleted. So now I'm going to press delete on my keyboard, but you're saying, well, I still see the eye. That's because underneath the original is showing, so I'm going to use my little finger here to deactivate the original copy, and there we go. So before I drag it over, I want to deactivate the marquee tool. So I'm going to click on it again. Now I'm going to drag the eye over. So click on the headshot. Just let me zoom out. Go back to the green eye using the arrow tool and drag it over. Oh, hold on. Oh, there you go. So I thought I didn't, but I did. I made 2 copies, but that's fine. So I want to take the first copy, and right now it's underneath the first layer. I want to drag it up so it's visible right here. And yeah, it's pretty big. So to scale that down, we're going to press Control T to scale, and to scale in proportion, I'm going to press my Shift key and bring it down like this. I'm going to pan in, zoom in right here. And a general rule of thumb is to not work far away. I want to work as close as possible. I use the same analogy with my students. If you are getting ready in the morning and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you don't want to, ideally you are as close to the mirror as possible. Then I'm going to press enter. Now that's not bad. Now it looks a little fake because obviously you have 2 different quality of images. And what we're going to do is make sure the eye layer is selected. I'm going to reduce the opacity so you get a bit of her lighter eyes blending in with the green. So there we go. So right now the opacity is at 50%. I'm going to use the eraser tool. I'm going to zoom in a bit more. Again, I'm going to go to my navigator, and with a soft edge brush like this, decrease the diameter. I am going to lightly and gently just erase away the upper eyelash that was on the eye image that I got from the internet, and really you have to work slowly. It's ultimately you wanted to achieve a realistic image as possible. So there we go, and there is her green eye. Now students will say, well, how do I get the other eye? Instead of reinventing the wheel, we already have 1 good eye. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to actually throw the second eye away. I'm going to take the left green eye, I want to rename that, and I'm going to duplicate that. There we go. So now I have 2 left eyes. I'm going to rename it as the right eye. And with my arrow tool, I'm going to drag it over. And there we go. Because I'm a perfectionist, I tell my students that's really not a true representation, because it should be a mirror image. So it should have the opposite, I guess, view. So I'm going to press Control T on that eye, and I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit, and I'm going to click in the middle tab right here and then drag it to the other side. Press enter and put it here on her other eye. So again, it's not 100% perfect right now. I'm just going to maybe make it a little bit bigger. Oops, press shift. See how that looks. I'm going to zoom out. Oops. And with my arrow tool, there we go. Okay, she has 2 emerald green eyes. Okay. And that's how you change eye color.